Test. Test.
Oh, go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Let's see. Is that better? I was
Yeah.
trying to get my headphones.
No, you're
Okay,
good.
cool,
Can you
cool.
hear me?
Mhm.
Sweet.
Clear.
How's the audio? Nice. All right, cool.
Yeah, audio's good.
Lit. All right. I'm gonna give it a few minutes. 8:30. I'll
Okay,
jump on.
cool.
I'm just gonna hide this.
Okay. Is it 8:20 where you're at?
Yeah. 8:23.
Okay, cool. Okay. I was like, bro, it's like 7:30 here. I was tripping.
Yeah.
But
No,
I
you're
saw
good.
Eastern Standard.
Hour behind
All
us.
right, cool. All right, so
A few minutes.
all right, see you in a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Your podcast. Your podcast. Your podcast. Your podcast. Your pod. Your pod.
All right. All right. All right. Welcome to episode 1 of the Scratch Golf Show. My name is Marco Uquinto. I'll be the host of this evening's and this show. Um, I'm just a local hack, born and raised in Michigan. I'm big into Michigan golf, Northern golf. Been obsessed with the game for a really long time. So I've wanted an outlet and an area to talk all things golf. I'm a big proponent on YouTube, so I said, why not? Let's try this out. Let's discuss golf on YouTube and see if we can make anything of ourselves. So that's what I want to do. I call it the Scratch Golf Show because I myself am a scratch golfer. So it kind of just fit with what I was looking to do, and it wasn't taken from like a million other golf shows that are live on YouTube. Um, so that's really where the name came from. I've been playing golf for a long time. I think I can provide some interesting perspective from a scratch golf standpoint, and as well as give out some good insight of the game in general. So typically, I'm going to try and go live every Monday and Wednesday around this time to discuss the PGA Tour, live, anything golf related in general. That's going to be my main focus on Mondays, and then Wednesdays we're going to focus on more of the gambling aspect. I don't claim to be some gambling tout. I just do it for the fun, similar to what I'm doing here. I just want to do this as a hobby. So you could probably fade me, get rich. Any picks you that I give out, I would recommend fading. It's not like I said, I don't claim to be some gambling tout, but I have done okay betting certain things in golf. So Wednesdays we'll focus more on the gambling aspect, and I'll give out some picks. But yeah, that's just a little bit about the show. I'm based out of Michigan. A quick agenda for the show today. What we're going to talk about to start is we're going to do a quick recap of the Valero. We actually have a special guest who's going to be joining us, who is boots on the ground. Hint, hint, it's on my hat. He's a cousin of mine who runs his own golf Instagram out of Austin, Texas. So we're gonna have him join. Really excited to do that. And then we'll briefly discuss Live Miami, and that and everything leading up ultimately to my favorite week of the year, which is Masters Week. I love the Masters. It holds a special place in my heart. As you can see, I've got a man corner over my left shoulder here, as well as a Masters towel. I was lucky enough to go visit Augusta as a kid. I went in 2011 to a practice round. My dad took me, and that's ultimately why it holds a special place in my heart. The reason why I golf, and the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because my dad got me into the game when I was young, and so I really love this game just because of the connection it gives me to my dad. But ultimately, I want to take a deep dive into Augusta, give out some a preview of who I think is going to win, overview of the tournament, as well as, like I said, give out some picks for the Masters. So before we get started, let me go ahead and make sure my guest is all good. And we can get started.
Hey, can you hear
What's
me?
up? Yeah. Let me get
Awesome.
let me get this shit sorted. All right.
How was your day, bro?
It was good, man. It was good. Nervous to kind of get this started. Um,
Same. I was sitting here twiddling my thumbs, like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Yeah.
you know, we
It's
just
always a new, it's a new experience
we
for
just
both of
kind of
us.
got to
So
go into it, and whatever happens,
yeah.
happens. We got 3 viewers, which
hmm
is 3 more than I was expecting, and I'm pretty sure one is my wife or my fiance. So whatever.
There you go.
Anyway, with all due respect, and I want to give a shout out to my man Steven Savala. He's my cousin. Do you want to do an intro, man? Tell the tell the channel who you are. I gave him a brief intro of caddy issues, but I just told him that you're a golf social media influencer out of Austin, Texas. So you want to just do an intro, tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
caddy
for
issues,
sure.
and then we can get into the Valero.
Awesome. Yeah. So caddy issues golf, right? It kind of when I first came up with the name, we were just kind of listening to music. We just started talking, and the name just kind of popped up, and we
Yeah,
stuck with it. We went through a few different names before and stuff like that. But what I really like to do with caddy issues is get involved with the community. I like bringing people together, having just a decent time at the course,
yeah,
or just going out and having some food, drinks, whatever it may be. The tournament aspect behind what we do is really, I think, what gathers a lot of people. It gives a chance for like the people in the Austin area to go out, uh, compete competitively, but also have a good time. We
yeah,
want you to play as good as you want. You can play as hard ass as you want,
yeah,
or you can just lay back, keep it chill, and play whatever. Um, yeah, we do like 4-man scrambles, 2-man scrambles, and we do a solo tournament at the end of the year. That one's for like all of our, 9 to 5 guys that should have gone
yeah,
pro, but they broke a finger, life happens, whatever it may be.
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, so I like doing those because that one right there brings everyone together. People like to go hard, and we get like a just a large crowd of people to follow along.
Yeah.
We give a nice payout and all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's what we do.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on. Talk to me a little bit before we get into the Valero about what courses y'all play in Austin. I personally I've never played golf in Austin, so I so I don't know a ton of the courses there. So tell me just a little bit about what courses y'all play, and what's your favorite? Did we lose you, Roro? All right. Give me one sec. Technical difficulties.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know either. We're learning. We're learning. So you're
Yeah,
talking
this
about
is a
Austin, Texas,
yeah.
the
So I
course
was
that I
gonna say,
play.
yeah.
Yeah.
What courses do you play? What is your favorite? Like, what cool courses are down there? What are your favorite courses that
So,
you like to play?
all right. If you want something challenging that's gonna, make you play most of your game,
Why do we? I keep losing you. I don't know why I keep losing you. Are you hitting the button or
yeah, I
something?
don't know either. No, I'm hands free.
I don't know what's going on.
Jimmy Clay. Yeah, we'll get it working. Maybe I don't know. I'll use my laptop next time. Um, so yeah, Jimmy Clay. That's a really good course.
Yeah.
Crystal Falls. That one's great too. Um, we host tournaments at Crystal Falls. They
Yeah.
also have the Hill Country Amateur there. So whenever the greens are like around this time of year, that place it's firm, it's fast. It's also just a really you have to be really good with your irons. It's a
Okay.
placement course. You can't just like send bombs.
Yeah. I don't understand what. Keep losing them. I don't know why. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Don't know why it's happening. Well, sorry about that. Anyway, thanks for joining. Having some technical difficulties. So, give us a couple minutes and we'll get Steven back in. All right, let's try this again.
Okay, let's try this again. All right, all right.
Anyway,
That was
uh,
yeah, it was working fine earlier. I don't know, maybe like you said, like the link
I don't know.
was
Let's
messing
hope
up. I
this
don't
new
know.
link works. Anyway, well, you wanna talk about the Valero? Let's dive in to this
Yeah, let's jump into that.
the week in golf that was. You were boots on the ground. I guess how close is San Antonio? How close is TPC San Antonio to where you live? And what days did you actually attend the
Oh, about
event?
an hour.
Oh, so you're not too far from the event.
So I attended. Yeah, it's like an hour. I went on Wednesday. I was supposed to caddy at the Pro Am.
Yeah,
And then when I got there, all the spots were already full. So I guess a lot of the amateurs brought their own caddies. So
yeah,
I didn't get a chance to caddy with anyone professional. But hey, shout out to the Valero Open and First Tee Austin, or First Tee San Antonio. They still gave all the caddies that signed up $50 cash, uh, around at TPC San Antonio or the Oaks, and two tickets to either, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever you wanted.
okay. And
Yeah, so they still hooked me up with that. I was able to walk around. I was able to get on the range.
yeah,
One of my friends works for TrackMan, and he invited us out there. He's like, "Hey, just come out to the range. Don't say anything. Just stand behind
yeah.
me." And yeah, like whatever. So we stood behind him. I was able to stand behind Rory, and
understand why it keeps jumping out. Dude, I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Fowler. I was able to watch a few of his swings.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And who else did I see? I followed Bhatia on Sunday. That was like the main guy. I followed Matsuyama and Rory for a little bit, but Bhatia and McCarthy started getting hot. So by hole number 3, I just went back and started watching them. That was
Yeah,
a really crazy round.
yeah, man, that was wild. Like, I want to start there. Like, I've personally never seen TPC San Antonio. I've played it on like Tiger Woods PGA 2K, but I've never really played a ton of golf in Texas. I wish I could. Um, but like the course itself generally plays relatively tough. I mean, it's a Norman design in general, so it's gonna
Yeah.
be like a lot of fall offs, a lot of runoffs, a lot of like tricky areas. It's famous for Kevin Na. I think made a 16 on hole 9 way back when. Um,
Dude, yeah, you can go out of bounds quick on hole
yeah.
9.
This is pissing me off. Anyway, I'm gonna try and get him in a different way. But what I was gonna say is the leaderboard itself was this was a good event. I mean, generally when you see courses leading up to Augusta or majors, um, the course itself generally plays more. I mean, the event itself generally will have more people from the major field in the actual field itself to test their game, and figure out exactly how their game is prior to. So with it being the week before the Masters, it was good to see like guys like Rory, Jordan, a lot of the more higher names on the PGA Tour play in this event. And so I really like that about it. I love the weeks before the majors. I think it's a good test for people's games to see where they stack up. Obviously, with Liv and the PGA Tour kind of splitting off and doing their own things now, you have two different events prior to the week at Augusta. But this field, I mean, I think it was a great event. I love Akshay. I think he is an awesome player from the aspect of he turned pro at a really young age when he was 18, or I think he was 19, and kind of got ripped for it. But he has played well in certain PGA Tour events. He's been kind of grinding on the Korn Ferry Tour. I know he won on the Korn Ferry Tour. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but the dude's got game. And he lapped the field. I mean, he was winning wire to wire. I think he shot, I don't remember if it was 8 or 9 under in the first round. But ultimately, like, he really was leading going into the back 9 from the moment he took the lead on Thursday. He ultimately had the lead going into the back 9 on Sunday. He was up, I want to say 6 going into the back 9 against Denny McCarthy. I love Denny. Denny's my guy. I was lucky enough to actually meet him in college through a friend of a friend and hang out with him a couple times. He's a really down-to-earth guy, a really humble guy, and he's a gamer. I mean, he's known as a really, really good putter, and I think that went to display on Sunday when he had, like, I think he birdied his last 7 holes. I think one was a chip-in, but ultimately it was... like I said, he shot a back 928 with 7 straight birdies. That is unreal to chase down a guy who, I mean, and Denny's never won. Like Denny, he's got a game. He's got game. He came out with the Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth group, and I think that was the 2011 class. I talked to him way back in the day, and he's always felt confident in his game. He said he can hang with anyone in golf. I mean, he's qualified for multiple U.S. Opens. He top 20 or top 10 the U.S. Open in 2022 when it was at Brookline. I think he had a top 15 at the Players last year. It's now his second straight loss, or his second loss in a playoff. If anyone didn't watch the Memorial last year, he led, I think, most of the back 9 on Sunday. He played 18, which if anyone has never watched the Memorial or played or seen Muirfield Village, which is in Ohio, which is Jack Nicklaus's signature course. 18 is one of the hardest finishing holes that they play on tour all year. It's got a creek all down the left, bunkers down the right, and I think they've now elevated the back tee to like make it 489 yards or 500-yard par 4. Very tight driving hole, and he made bogey there, and then he lost in the first playoff hole to Victor Hovland. If you watch the actual event, though, and you've watched the Memorial in the past, the back of the 18th green is very like there's a backstop back there. So typically on Sunday the pin is in the back, and guys can use the back slope to feed it closer to the hole. And I remember watching that event, and Denny had to lay up, and he hit a really good wedge shot. And ultimately, I think he thought it was going to be tight. It just didn't come off the backstop. He missed, I think, like a 20-footer in regulation to ultimately losing to Victor Hovland on the first playoff hole. So the guy's got game. I mean, you don't make 8 birdies on the back 9 on Sunday to hunt down a guy in the PGA Tour if you don't have game in general. And like I said, I think Bhatia actually covered it on Sunday where he was more in line of just like when Denny gets hot or when a guy like that gets hot, a guy who's not the longest but can pour it in with conviction. I mean, you saw, if you watched any of the event at all, most of the putts he was hitting was like the center of the cup, which when you're putting is ultimately the goal. You don't want to lip him in. You want to see him kind of trip over the front edge. So I really felt bad for my guy. I don't want him to be judged by the one swing in the playoff. You know, he fatted the wedge into the creek. The layout of the 18th hole at TPC San Antonio is a little weird given the fact that it's a par 5, but the layup itself is almost as hard of a shot as going for the green. There's a creek that runs all through down the middle. So if you really miss the fairway left or right or 100 yards left, if you saw where Jordan Spieth ended up, I think that was on Saturday, that it is a really hard par 5. I mean, it's a tough finishing hole. So I know he fatted the wedge, and I'm sure that people want to judge him for it, but ultimately he made a really bad swing at a really bad time. I'm sure he'll tell you the same thing. I don't think it was nerves. I really just think he hit a bad shot. The guy literally birdied 8 of 9 holes on Sunday, so I don't want to say that it was nervy. I mean, maybe it was, but I ultimately don't think so. But I feel bad for him. I really do want to see him get a win. I want to say he's 30, so he's still got a lot of time left in his career. He's played well in a lot of big-time events over the past couple of years. And anyone who's known me or I've talked to over the past couple of years, I've been trying to tout my guy Denny. Just let him know a little bit about his game. Like I said, I think it was 2022 where he was one of, if not the best putter on the PGA Tour, which that's pretty fucking good. I mean, if you ask me. But ultimately, Bhatia ends up getting it done in the playoff. Also, the playoff instance was weird. Akshay tore his shoulder fist pumping after he made like a 15-footer or a 13-footer to get into the playoff. So during the playoff, he had to have a trainer come. He hit a drive, then he hit a really good layup shot, and then he got his shoulder taped for the approach. Just an overall weird Sunday. But anytime that you are 9 clear of the field, I mean, I want to say the leaderboard was Denny and Akshay at 20 under in a playoff. Rory shot a Sunday 66 a week early, as I'd like to say, to backdoor his way into contention for a T3. There was a couple guys at 8 or 9, and then really everyone else was just kind of straggling along in the top 10. Ultimately, anytime you're 9 clear of a field in any competitive golf event, I would say you had a good week. So I really, like I said, just to go back to Denny, like you beat a field by 9 shots. I mean, that alone is impressive in itself. But the fact that, you just happen to catch a guy on a good week, and you had to go to a playoff to get a win is tough. Brings you back to, I think it was the 2016 British Open when Phil and Henrik had their famous duel at Troon, where they were like, I don't remember the exact scores, but they set records where it was essentially everyone else was playing for third place. So I think Denny's going to get one done. He's won me a little bit of money this year, but I really do want to see him get a win. I mean, especially after a great week like that. To lose the way he did really sucks. But he is going into Augusta this week, which is awesome. He's going to play his first Masters. Both those guys in the playoff, I think, are going to play their first Masters. Bhatia competed there in the drive, chip, and putt when he was a kid. But ultimately, like I said, this will be his first time competing in general at Augusta. So we are in for a good week. Speaking of Augusta, like I said, this is one of my favorite weeks of the year. Like I literally look forward to this week, um, almost like I do any holiday. Any golf sicko like myself loves the Masters, the first major of the year here in Michigan. Generally warms up around this time after March Madness, so we actually start to get some real life rounds on the course, which is awesome. But it is my favorite week of the year, and I'm really happy that tomorrow I'm hoping the weather holds. It's supposed to thunderstorm in the morning. I'm hoping that we can get some golf on. That way I can watch some. So I don't think that Denny could have waited until Akshay hit his approach because he, I want to say he was further away before he hit the shot, which also would have been a weird question is if Akshay like taped and was just like, yeah, I just gotta stick a dart after hitting the water. It's definitely interesting. Um, it's an interesting scenario. But it was overall a great event. I love Texas golf, the Valero. I was lucky enough to go to the Austin event, the match play in 2022. I think that was the last time they held it at Austin Country Club. But they do a lot of stuff in Texas. I know they have the Houston Open, they have the Valero. They used to have the Byron Nelson. So that there's a lot of great golf events in Texas that the PGA Tour puts on. But overall, I think the Valero was a great event. Like I said, I really wish Denny could have gotten it done. But ultimately, it is what it is. Um, I want to tune in and kind of shift gears a little bit. Talk about the Live event that was in Miami. Live Golf Miami, which was another playoff. Ironically enough, two events on Sunday, two events with free golf, which is sweet. If you're a golf sicko like myself, we do love free golf. Dean Burmester and Sergio were in the playoff. They're playing at Doral. If anyone doesn't know Doral, it was a course that they played on the PGA Tour for a long time. They used to have a WGC there. A lot of great champions have won there. Tiger's won there multiple times. I think Phil's won there. Bubba's won there. DJ's won there. Like I said, they had an event there for a long time. So one thing I actually liked that Liv did was scheduling an event like this the week before the Masters. I think a lot of their players who are playing in the Masters, I don't want to say maybe appreciated it, but they're not that the Blue Monster is comparable to Augusta at all. But as far as just pure just hard, like the course is 7,700 yards, water on almost every hole. So as far as major prep, I mean, I think Liv does a really good job scheduling this the week prior to the first major of the year. I think only 13, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, guys are playing in the event, but it's good on them for scheduling tough courses before they play in a major. Burmester got it done in a playoff. That's his third worldwide win in the past 9-ish months. Him and Louis Oosthuizen won back-to-back events on the DP World Tour at the end of last year. So good on him for finding some form. If you don't know a lot about golf, Dean Burmester plays out of South Africa. He's part of the Stingers GC, which I think is all South African guys. It's Louis' team. But he's a great player. He was top 50-ish in the world prior to moving to Live. It's good to see him get his first win. Bummed for Sergio. Definitely wanted to see him get it done. He missed like a 3-footer prior to jumping into playoff for the win on 18. 18 is one of the harder holes on the course. I think if not the hardest hole on the course. It's a brutal tee shot. It narrows in with water all down the left, and then from there you're left with like somewhere, if you hit a good drive, 170 to 220 yard shot over water, essentially into a oval shaped green that runs away from you. Sergio hit the green in 2-3 jack. Like I said, I want to say he missed like a 3-footer. He went back to his 99 Scotty Cameron, which is kind of cool to see. I think it's his third playoff loss on Live. He's yet to get a win, but he is playing well, which is awesome. The week before Augusta for him. So if you're interested in like a sleeper pick, Sergio, don't hate him this week. Just given his current form, going to a course that he really loves and has played really well. Who else? Matt Wolff. Good to see Matt Wolff playing well. He was a talent coming to live, kind of lost his game. I think he got shredded by Brooks last year. Overall, a good leaderboard though. Like I said, I think Liv does a good job of scheduling these events prior to the Masters. Um, Rounding out the top 10, you've got Wacko, Gooch, Reed, Bryson at 7 under, Rom 8 under, Hatton 8 under. So you got a lot of guys who are playing in the Masters coming into form, coming into Augusta, which is going to be interesting. Question in the chat: can Akshay keep it going in Augusta? Shoulder is bothering him, but lefties love Augusta. Yes, I do. I'm genuinely curious to see how his shoulder. I guess we should maybe get like a doctor or somebody who has a little more experience than me on the show to talk about an injury like that, a dislocated shoulder. I do think he can keep it going. Rookies at Augusta never generally play well, given the trends. Just people who are on their first time around Augusta generally struggle. And given the fact that the dude just lapped the field by 9, had to get into a playoff to get it done. And then from there, he's got to hop on a plane, fly to Augusta, play in his first Masters all at 22. I wouldn't say I'd be picking him this week, just based on the trends, but I definitely think he can keep it going. I mean, lefties have played well at Augusta. You look at guys in the past who have won at Augusta National. I mean, Mike Weir, that was back in, I think, 03. I wouldn't, anyone with his skill set, I think, doesn't have the capability to win there anymore just because of how much distance they've added. But Phil won 04, 06, 2010. Obviously T2 last year at 53. Bubba's got 2. So I definitely think Akshay could get it done. I don't know if this is the year that he's going to get it done, just given kind of what he did to get here, kind of punching his ticket the week before. But I wouldn't be picking him. That's just how I am. I like to fade rookies given their first time around Augusta. But let's transition that. I think we kind of discussed the week that was in golf, the Valero, Live Miami, and now I want to get into the meat and potatoes of the show, which is going to be the Masters preview. Like I said, I love Augusta. I love the course. I've been lucky enough to visit it once. The TV cameras don't do it justice. I really don't. I think so. I think the with how green it is everywhere around that place, the hills, the undulation, you really just don't appreciate it until you're there. It's literally on the border of South Carolina. If you've never been, you can fly into Atlanta. That's what I did if you want to make a week out of it to play some golf near the area. But if you don't know anything about Augusta, I mean, it's probably most amateurs or most golfers' favorite course, or any course, anyone you'd ask, at least me, what course anyone could play at be Augusta National. I mean, it's not even close. It's the cream of the crop, and like I said, I love this week. But just a little bit about the course. Alistair McKenzie design. Like I said, it's hosted the Masters for as long as I know. I want to say going back to the early 1900s, 1930s, 1940s. So much history and tradition makes up this course. If you've never been, there's the lottery process every year to get tickets. You can request tickets for practice rounds. You can request tickets for actual rounds. But overall, it's a great atmosphere just to go walk around the course. So if you've never been, highly recommend checking it out. Obviously, it's very selective to get into the actual event itself. But it really is an awesome day, and you don't get to bring your phone, which I love. I think that's how golf should be. Should be enjoyed at a course like that, where no pictures, no social media, just eyes, sounds. Favorite hole? That's a tough question. I think there's a lot of memorable holes. I would say my personal favorite has got to be either 12 or 16. I think those are very swingy holes where you can easily make a 2, but you can also make a double. I think we've seen that on so many occasions going back just in the last 15 years. Like, Jordan, we're going back to 2016 when he made a 7 or 6 on 12, just fatting 2 into the water. You go back to 2019. when Tiger won, and when four guys in the last six, or four of the last six guys made double bogey. Poulter, Kepka, Molinari, and Finau, I think, all made double going back to that date. 16, I think it was the year Hideki won. Not many people remember that Masters, but Xander was actually like really having a really good back nine. I think he made 7 there. He came up in the short water, which really never happens. Most guys, when they miss at 12 or miss at 16, miss long or miss right, and that green has a spine that looks like this in the middle of it. So the Sunday pin they put on the bottom plateau, and you can generally release it down the spine. For as good as those guys are, you can essentially land it in a bucket. But when you're as good as those guys are, it really doesn't matter. But I would say those are my two favorite holes. What club am I hitting on 12? I don't know. That's a hard question. I've always heard cross breezes, and you can never feel the wind there, which I think is awesome. I think that's more of the architecture behind the course. They built that hole there for a very specific reason. Because that's where the wind comes in and you can't really feel it. We've seen guys come up in the water. We've seen guys nuke it like over the back bunkers there. What people don't realize is that green, I think, is only 14 paces wide, maybe 20 paces wide at its longest. But Augusta has so many runoffs and little contours in the greens that it really is like you literally have like a tabletop to land it on. So you really got to guess your number. I think it plays 155. I would maybe flick a 9-iron or maybe like a feeling 8-iron in there. The problem is you got to be so confident and so exact in your number. I think we've seen Tiger in the past where he literally he doesn't even want to the pin. There's 2 bunkers that make up the front bunker and the back bunker, and his goal is literally to land it right in the middle of those bunkers and just take your 3. That's the thing with Augusta is a lot of the course, like a lot of the holes, you're not meant to make birdie on. I think Jack Nicklaus had a great quote of, hole 3. It's a 360-yard par 4, and in today's game, that's nothing. I mean, for these guys, some of them can probably flick driver and get it within 30 yards of the green. The problem is that there's 3 distinct tiers. There's a back tier, a front right, and a front left tier. Jack famously said, "You're not supposed to make birdie on 3, and if you do, it's probably lucky because it's a hole that you're supposed to make par." And just go from there. Then that's going to be the theme with Augusta. Is getting it on the right tiers with these greens. You have to be like the greens and undulation and square footage make up a ton of ground as far as like what they do and how big they are, but you really have to be on the right tier, and there really is on almost every green like distinct tiers, ridges, runoffs that you have to be. And the beauty of Augusta is they generally stick to the same flag sticks. Most of these guys know what the Thursday pins are, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday pins are. But it really, most people say it doesn't come. You really don't know what's going to happen until the back nine on Sunday, which I think is really true. The back nine at Augusta shapes up for so much drama. There's so many swing holes where you can make, like I said, birdie or double. You've got the 2 par 5s, which will be interesting this year. 15, they added a box to the back tee last year, which I think now ends up being like 550, 560. The par 5s have generally played around 500, 510. They also added a new box to 13 this year. Last year on 15, we saw a lot of guys lay up. We saw a lot of guys not go for the green, even the long hitters, because it's such a hard shot in general to land it on that green, and now you're hitting, as opposed to a mid to long iron or a lofted metal, now you're hitting a 3-wood, for some guys a 5-wood. It's hard to land it on those greens and be super precise, considering there's water long, water short, and there's really no bailout. The thing with Augusta is they have the sub-air system under the green, so the course can really play as firm as they want it to play. And that's what I love about it. So there's supposed to be some rain tomorrow. Hopefully it doesn't soften the course too much for the rest of the weekend, because I want to see some carnage. I want to see these guys, I want to see these balls bouncing head high on the first bounce. I don't want to see these guys be able to have like a target practice. It's not what anyone wants to watch at the Masters. As fun as birdies are, Augusta is really known for being more of a bombers and ball strikers course. Given the length that they've added on so many holes, like I said, they added a back box to 13. They added a back box to 15. They've extended 11 like 50 yards. I think that hole is like now 530 yard par four that plays a little downhill into a green that's surrounded by water. So the Bombers generally do have an advantage here if you are longer off the tee, but also the fact that you're going to be having a lot of long and mid irons. So if you're looking at guys to pick this week, I would generally look at guys who are on the longer side and generally have a better mid to long iron approach game than most people. And I'll go over some guys that I like, some matchups here that I like from Augusta. On the betting side, we'll get into some odds here. But a few guys that I like, not to sound too cliche, but I love Scotty this week. I think when you look at Scotty, it's really going to, obviously, not to beat a dead horse, but it's going to come down to his putting. If he is ball striking it the way he's been ball striking it the past, I don't know, years since his first win, and if he has his B putting game, he should win. And you look at the odds for Scotty, I want to say he's been, the closer we've gotten to the actual tee off and the day itself, the shorter his odds have gotten. I think I saw him today generally between +4, +500 on most betting apps. We haven't seen really someone like that since Tiger, those odds. Like if you look at Tiger, every year that he was favored to win the Masters, 3-1, 2.5-1, sometimes even minus. Like I think in 2007 he was -120, which is absurd, to win the playoffs or to win a major. But so you're really like comparing, and Vegas doesn't give discounts, right? Like Vegas isn't here to be like, oh, like I'm gonna give you money. So if they're laying odds with Scotty Scheffler, who are somewhat close to Tiger at his peak, generally I would say that's a pretty good bet. Now, one thing I didn't know is his wife is pregnant with their with their kid, their first child. So he could withdraw at any time, which is wild. And he's already said that he's going to withdraw if his wife does go into labor, which mad respect to him. I don't know if I could do it. But he's a guy that I really like this week. I think that the course plays well for him. He's obviously won here in the past. And his game is just way better than everybody else's. So not to sound too cliche, but Scotty is going to be one of my picks going into the week. I'm going to stick to outright winners, and then we're going to do some top 10 stuff. And then we're also going to discuss some matchups, which I've actually really enjoyed betting on FanDuel and some other sports books where the 72-hole matchups or 18-hole matchups. I think you can find some decent value in those. But I'm going to run down the board for outright winners. Yeah, Sam Burns is in the same boat as Scotty. You're right. He could do, which is wild because they're like best friends. And now I guess they're having kids at the same time. But odds courtesy, I'm looking at DraftKings right now. I guess let me, I can probably share my screen. So I'm looking at Rory. I'm going to fade Rory. I mean, I'm on the big Rory fade train. We've seen numbers for him in majors, plus 650, plus 700, plus 500. It just gets to a point where the guy is almost a top 3 or top 4 favorite in every major he's played in. He hasn't won one in 10 years. So I'm going to fade him until he wins one. So I would generally not be betting on Rory. I would say top 10, top 5. If trends show us anything, he's somewhat known for a slow start. So if you want to wait to bet him live, you could almost maybe get him better odds post round 1. We've generally seen him either miss the cut or make the cut on the number or have to make the cut and it's going into the back 9 on Sunday, ultimately for him to fire a 32, 33, 31, whatever it is to make the cut. Shoot a 69 on Saturday and then a backdoor, top 10, top 5, 66 on Sunday has generally been Rory's trend. going into any Augusta. So like I said, I'm fading him. I really think the guy's got a mental block going back to 2011 when he shot 80 on the last day, and ever since then he just never seems to click. It was good to see him in form last week, with a back nine Sunday 66. But like I said, I'm fading him. Running down the rest of the shorter favorites, there's been a ton of movement too. It's some guys who I think I'm kind of shocked who are getting some of these late numbers. John Rahm 11-1 on DraftKings. I like Rahm. He's played good on LIV this year. It's really hard to win back-to-back majors. It's really hard to win back-to-back Masters, So on history, I think, the only people who have done it are Jack, Tiger, and I want to say Faldo did it in the 90s. But it is really hard to repeat. Given that it is his first Masters, it's his second major, so obviously I think he's not going to be as geared up or emotionally invested in this week. However, with the Champions Dinner and being the host champion, I think takes a lot out of you. It's got to be with the dinner and LIV and all that. So Rahm, I think you're getting decent value in the number, but it's just some guy I'm not going to be betting on just because it's hard to win it back-to-back times. You need luck and you need a good draw. I think what was it last year? He doubled the first hole after a 4-putt and still ended up winning, which is wild. Xander at 14-1. X-Man is he's seen some movement. I remember looking at this chart about a month ago, and I think he was somewhere in the neighborhood of 22, 23, 24-1, and now he's up to 14, and he's moved recently. I want to say earlier in this week he was almost closer to 18-1. I don't know if I'd be betting Xander. I like him. He has played well at Augusta. The guy's just not a closer. I don't get why, because he is so fucking good. He is such a good ball striker. He's played well in big events in general. We saw it basically the same type of thing happen at the Players earlier this year where he was in the final group with Wyndham, kind of faded down the stretch, didn't really close it out, got chased down by Scotty who shot the Sunday 64. I don't love him at 14-1. I think that is way too short for somebody who has no majors. You're getting guys behind him who have won multiple, and for that reason alone, I'm not going to bet him. I think if you get him closer to 20-1, 22-1, that type of range is where you're going to see some value from a guy like Xander. I've seen it too many times where he's in contention and he ultimately just doesn't close it out. Love him. I think he's got a lot of game, and I think he's going to get one at Augusta at some point. I just don't think this is the year. He seems like the kind of hot guy lately as far as people are betting. It's just not for me. I'm going to fade him. I don't love him as an outright this week, not at 14-1. Next, we got Brooks. Brooks, I love him this week. I think you're getting value in the number just in the fact that he's not a top 3 favorite to win. The guy is arguably the best major player of our generation, not named Tiger Woods. He's won the most, and all have come in. If you look down, I think someone said it earlier that I was reading an article, but the guy's won 5 majors since 2018, which is essentially one a year for the last 6 years. If you watched last year, you knew that he came out firing. His game was good. He was finally healthy after all the knee injuries. And I want to say he had a wrist injury too, but I really do think that he's about to go on another run here of he's going to win multiple, and he's going to win multiple in a very quick, succinct time. He should have and could have won Augusta last year. Given if there wasn't a rain delay, I think playing 27 holes on Sunday is just hard. That course is a really hard walk. But T2 last year, and then he obviously won the PGA at Oak Hill. That is another big boy golf course that plays long. It's hard. It's a really hard golf course to win on. So I think now that he's got his confidence back after winning that, I think you're going to start to see the books adjust more as we get closer to the U.S. Open, the PGA, the ones that he's already won. I think he's going to be a real popular pick this summer. But at 16-1 on DraftKings, I think that's a little light. I think 2 units, and keep in mind my units are smaller. I got him at 21-1, which is insane that he was that short to win at Augusta. But I really do think I'm going to be firing on Brooks at every major this year, except probably the British Open. I don't know. I don't really know how he plays in the links courses. He has somewhat success, but I don't want to get too far ahead. But I love Brooks this week. I'm going to be looking at him top 10, top 20, outright 1,600. Like I said, I've got him at 21-1 in a couple different bets. But I love Brooks this week. I don't love that he changed putters. That's something that maybe not a ton of people know, but he was using a different putter at Live last week, Live Miami. He has always traditionally used the Scotty Cameron blade. I don't know if it's a select, but yeah, I mean, I don't love a putter change the week before a major, but I really don't think it matters. I mean, we've seen this time and time again from Brooks where the majors are the only thing that he cares about. I mean, it is what it is. Like every major week, if you don't bet him, I think you're just missing value. And a lot of these books, like they aren't catching up on some of the live guys. That's one thing that I think as a bettor, not a lot of people have realized, but these numbers are built in to where the live guys I just don't think are getting the respect that they deserve. Some of the guys, the top guys, I don't think are getting the respect that they deserve. But he's obviously the best major player, and so I'd be betting on him this week. Any bet, top 5, top 10, if you can get a halfway decent number. Another couple guys that have seen some late movement, one for the good, one for the bad. Hideki at 18-1 on DraftKings. He's been playing great lately. His number has moved significantly since he won at Riviera. He's obviously played well in a couple events since then. He played halfway decent at the Valero last week. But 18-1 just feels short to me. Hideki's weird, man. He's had a weird career. Like, he's won multiple times. He's obviously got a major. But he just wins in spurts. Like, if you look at his wins, they're all like he'll win 2 or 3 events in a very short time. Then he won't win for like a year or two. I think he's had multiple year-long winless droughts. He has played Augusta well in the past. Obviously, like I said, he won in 21. He played here as an amateur. He's played here a lot. I just think 18-1 is just too short. I don't love him this week. He is battling some injuries. His game is spotty. I mean, his short game around Augusta has been unreal. We all know his ball striking is untouchable when he's striping it, and with his one-handed finishes. But 18-1, it just feels light to me. It feels like you can get some guys down the board who are, I think, have a better chance of winning this week at a better number. So I'd fade Hideki. Him and X-Man, I think, have seen the most movement that I've seen over the past month or so. Next, Spieth, Niemann, Aberg. Spieth at 25-1, Niemann at 30-1, Aberg 30-1. And then somebody asked about Homa. Max Homa is, I don't see him on here. I don't think Max has a chance. He is 60-1. 60-1. I don't like Max. I don't like Max in majors, especially not at Augusta. He's just too nice. Like, he reminds me a lot of Ricky, even though he's, I think, got as many PGA Tour wins as Ricky. But anyway, Spieth 25, Niemann 30, Aberg 30-1. I'm gonna fade Jordan. I think every year we see this, where he's the popular pick going into Augusta, given the history he has. He's played here well. Obviously, he's got a win. Should have 2 if it weren't for him melting down in 2016. 25-1. His number's gone the other way. I've seen him as low as like 17-1 on DraftKings and FanDuel dating back to like February and March. So you are getting some value. I would say you're getting the best of the number right now at 25-1 for Spieth. So if you do want to bet him, I think now would be the appropriate time to do so. I still wouldn't do it. I just don't think he's going to win this week. He's going to make a lot of birdies. He's going to make a lot of putts. and it's been his MO for a while. He just makes too many bogeys. He makes too many big numbers where it's a full roller coaster when you watch a Jordan Spieth round on the golf course. But yeah, I'm not gonna pick him this week. He's not a guy that I really love. I might be betting against him, but if you want to pick him, I understand he is a hot pick, and you are getting, like I said, the best of the number at 25-1. Neiman at 30-1. I love Neiman. I do love Neiman this week. I think the time to bet him was probably a month and a half ago before he started winning on Live. If you don't watch a ton of Live, Waco's won 2 events. He won Live Mayakoba. That's another course that the PGA Tour used to play on. He beat Sergio in a playoff. He won Live Jeddah, going away convincingly. I'm pretty sure that's a big boy golf course too. And then he finished 1 shot out of the playoff in the Hong Kong event. So he really has a good year. The dude's a stud. And the thing why I love his game and why it's suited well for Augusta, and especially this year, is he's played Augusta, I want to say 4 times. He's improved every year. Last year coming off a I want to say T15, T16, somewhere around there. But the thing I love about him is he's a shot shaper. And like, as somebody who likes to move the ball both directions, if you watch some of his shot tracers, I don't want to say they're Tiger-esque, but the way he contorts his body and the way he can manipulate the ball flights and angles and the windows that the ball goes through when he's hitting shots, I think that's what you need at Augusta. You need to be able to move it right to left. You need to be able to move it left to right to get to these flags that are in tucked corners on these tiered greens. You can hit it low, you can hit it high, and if you watch some of the tracers he's been hitting, he's working it in both directions. I think not only that, if you followed him at all, followed Liv at all, followed the whole drama like I have, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's made multiple comments about how he wanted to play in the majors, how he wanted to play at the Masters after his wins in Liv, which I understand. I get it. I mean, I think the Liv guys get a bad rap. I think they should have a better chance to qualify for the majors, Masters specifically. But given where we are in the current state of golf, I understand why they're not playing. But he was given an exemption, and so I think him at 30-1 is enticing. You could have gotten him, like I said, at 50, 55, even 60-1. I know some people who I've followed, some other golf betting guys have those tickets. I wish I would have given it out back then, but still think you're getting some decent value at 30-1 for him. Like I said, I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. If you look at him on DraftKings right now, he's 240 for a top 10. And I can show you guys, so share my screen. So when you bet golf, you bet top 10s. And I think somebody asked about a parlay, top 10 parlay. If you're doing top 10 parlays, don't do them here, because if you do get a top 10 parlay, you can have what they call a dead heat rule. I think the only book that doesn't do this is MGM, BetMGM. But for example, like if Waco tied 10th with like 9 other guys, that bet eventually, I don't exactly know how the dead heat rule works. You can find it on these books. But the bet gets cut in like 8 times because of how many players he's tied with. And then you win those odds off that bet. So if you bet him at plus 300, he ties 8 times at $20. You take 20 divided by 8 and, whatever, $2 and multiply that by your winning odds. And that's what happens. So if you're betting, I would look at top finish, including ties. FanDuel just dropped this today. DraftKings has it yesterday, had it live yesterday. So if you're looking to bet like top 10s and top 5s, I would look at this page, especially for parlays. Just an FYI. But Waco top 10 including ties is plus 210. I already have 1 unit on that. And I want to say I have 1 unit on top 5 as well. I really like him this week. I think with the chip on his shoulder, and I don't think generally the Live guys haven't got a ton of TV time either. So I think he's gonna play with a chip on his shoulder. So I really like him at 30-1. Getting into like some higher tier guys, 30-1, 40-1. Viktor Hovland has had a like meteoric fall off. The dude was the best player in the world last year. He won, I think he was famous for winning like $20 million in like 10 days. He won the BMW, he won the FedEx Cup, he won the playoff at Eastlake, the Tour Championship. He also won at Memorial last year. The dude was almost like 14-1, literally like a month ago. Now he's also up to 35-1. He made a swing coach change, which is wild to think about, that having the best year of your career, you go and make a swing coach change, but to each his own. Similar here, I'm not going to bet Victor just because he's searching. I think you don't want to be searching at Augusta. You don't want to have a two-way miss. You don't want to feel uncomfortable when you're over the ball. So you're getting the good end of the number. Like I said, he was one of the top 5 favorites less than a month ago. And now you're getting almost double or triple your money. So 35-1 I think is a good price. I'm not going to bet him, but if you're interested, Victor. Next we got Bryson, Finau, Cantley, Fitzpatrick, DJ, Wyndham Clark. Bryson at 35-1, and then the rest of the guys at 40-1. I'm gonna fade Bryson this year. I think he's actually priced somewhat appropriately. Like I said, I think you get some value in the live guys with their odds, but Bryson just doesn't play well here. Ever since his famous like par 67 comments, whenever that was. I'm pretty sure he's played horrible. He's missed the cut in 22 and 23. It's a course that he should play well at, generally, given how far he hits it and just the natural advantage you have as somebody who bombs the ball at Augusta. And as a righty, hitting right to left shot, hitting that big towering high draw off a lot of those tees, you pick up such an advantage. So I'm really shocked that he has not played well here in the past because the course fits kind of his game. I think where he struggled and why I'm going to fade him until otherwise is he really struggles with the touch shots and his putting is streaky. When his game is going well, his putting it great. But he does have that arm lock putter, which I think you do lose some feel on. And on Augusta greens, like you really need to have your lag putting in effect. So I think that's one of the reasons he hasn't played well here. But also, he does famously play the one-length irons, which is great. In certain aspects, I don't think Augusta is one of those courses where that type of iron play or that type of setup is going to suit him. It's hard to hit a 60 degree in general for most golfers, especially guys who aren't pro. But try hitting a 60 that's the length of a 6 iron or the length of a 7 iron. Like that type of setup will help you at a US Open, a PGA, where he can just bomb it as far down there as he wants. And the length of that club with that loft is going to help him gouge it out of the rough. That's what we saw when he won his U.S. Open at Winged Foot, was he was just bombing and gouging, famously inventing that type of golf. So I'm going to fade him this week. I'm going to be betting against him in matchups if I see a good number, just given his course history. But I don't love him at Augusta. His just course history just isn't great. And until he figures it out, I just think you should be betting against those types of players until proven otherwise. So I touched on a bunch of guys, 40-1. Finau, Cantley, Fitzpatrick, Dustin Johnson, Wyndham Clark. Finau, he's been playing all right. He played well in Houston. I don't know. Tony Finau he kind of reminds me of Xander or Ricky. He's a guy who's going to win some PGA Tour events, but he's not a closer. He's all the talent in the world to be a good golfer, but I'll fade him. I think you're getting some halfway decent value there at 40-1. He has played somewhat well at Augusta in the past. The year Tiger won, I think that was the year he famously popped his ankle out in the par 3 contest. But yeah, I don't love him this week. I think that maybe a top 10. If you look at him top 10, he's plus 320. I want to say without ties, he's probably plus 280-ish, plus 275. So if you're gonna play Tony, I'd look at him in like a top 10 bet more than anything. 40-1 just feels light to me. Cantley, fade. Cantley has not played since the Players, and he's played horrible since then. Or he's played horrible this year, really. He hasn't been great. A lot of the top guys on tour, like Xander, Cantley, Spieth, JT, like you go down this list, and like a lot of the guys that stayed in the PGA Tour who are supposedly the stars really have not played well this year, other than Scotty, and I guess Wyndham Clark, who's now, now that he won a major, he's somewhat of a top player. But Cantley at 40-1 is interesting. I was listening to another podcast earlier. He really struggles on the greens here. He's a really good ball striker. He's actually gained strokes around from tee to green, but he loses strokes on putting. So at 40-1, I think you're actually getting a halfway decent value in the number for a guy who's played well here. I want to say he has a couple top tens. I know the year Tiger won, he had the lead on the back nine for a little bit. 40-1 is not bad on the number itself. I don't want to play it just because I simply don't think Cantley's going to win. But 40-1, you are getting some halfway decent value. Moving down the list, Fitzpatrick, 40-1. I like Fitzy. I think 40-1 is interesting. He played well at the Players. He played well last week. I think he had a Sunday 66 or 67 last week. You could look at him for an outright. He's only won twice on the PGA Tour, which is wild. And he won his first win on the PGA Tour was the U.S. Open as a major. So you are getting a guy, really the next three guys. You're getting Fitzpatrick, DJ, and Wyndham Clark all at 40-1. Wyndham, I've seen as short as like 28-1, 27-1. So you are getting decent numbers on these guys, all who have won majors. If I had to pick one out of the three between Fitzpatrick, DJ, and Wyndham Clark, I'm going to take DJ. I think DJ is another guy who you just aren't simply getting value on him on the number itself because he plays on LIV. I think if DJ simply played in the PGA Tour, this number would be closer to 25-1. He has won on LIV this year. He won LIV Vegas earlier in the year. And I just think he's somewhat in form. He played okay at Doral, but he has won on this course, and he's just a guy who has so much talent. He's in his, he's in his kind of later years of his career, but it wouldn't shock me if he got a couple more majors just because he still pounds the shit out of the ball, and he's just an athlete in general. So if I had to pick one of those guys as an outright, I'd pick DJ. I actually do really like him this week at 40-1. So that's who I would pick. I'm going to fade Wyndham Clark. First timer again. I'm going to die by that sword this week apparently. I'm just going to fade the guys who are playing in their first Masters without any experience at Augusta. I don't think Wyndham even ever showed up to Augusta until this week. I think he was more of a didn't want to curse himself, which makes sense. But I'm going to fade him. Then we're getting into 50-1, kind of your longer guys. You've got Sahith 45-1. I like him. I would sprinkle him more in a top 5, top 10 pick than anything than an outright winner, but I do think he has been playing relatively well. He played well at TPC. He played well at the Waste Management earlier in this year. So he's a guy who a lot of people like. 45-1, at this point you're just kind of, when you're betting golf outrights, you really need to focus on just, I'm going to take 2 or 3 guys, sprinkle a few units on each, and hopefully I maximize that. So Sahith could be interesting. JT 45-1, not interested. He just ended his relationship with Bones. The dude's been searching for what feels like 2 years ever since he won his second major at Southern Hills. 45-1, good number value-wise, but I'm just not interested. I don't think he's going to win. He's searching, and like I said, that's not someone you want to be betting on at Augusta. Cam Smith, 45-1. That's another LIV guy. I think you're getting value in his number alone. He withdrew last week via food poisoning. Not if anyone doesn't know that. He only played 1 round at LIV Miami. But I love Cam Smith. I think he's got the most birdies at Augusta the last 5 years, going back to 2020 where he finished second. He finished second or third when Scotty won in 22. The dude makes birdies. For him, it's going to come down to if he can drive it well. He's been struggling with his driver. We all know how well Cam Smith putts. Literally the best putter in the world outside of my guy Denny McCarthy. I love Cam Smith 45-1. I think you're getting great value. Similar to DJ, he's a guy who you're getting value on just simply because he plays on LIV in the number. Guys with good course history here, when you're getting great numbers, I generally will bet on him blind just because you're getting value and you're getting an edge on the book in that aspect. Will Zalatoris, 45-1 also. A lot of people like Willie Z this week. I like him. I think 45-1 is value there. For him, it's going to come down to putting. As anyone knows, he is notoriously one of the worst short putters in ever. The dude's stroke is ugly when we've seen him putt. The 3 to 4 footers. He has gone to the broomstick, which is a little interesting. I would bet him as a top 5, top 10. He's also a guy similar to Brooks where he plays well. He brings it in the majors. He did T2 here at Hideki the year in 21 when Hideki played. So Willie Z at 45 to 1. I think you can take a flyer there. Another guy, like I said, top 5, top 10, who I would bet on if you're interested in like the top 5, top 10 ties bet. Russell Henley 50 to 1. Not going to discuss him. I don't think he has a chance. A guy that I'm really going to fade this week and I'm going to talk more about is going to be Morikawa at 50 to 1. He is in no form at all. He's been terrible largely the past 2 years. He's got one win since his last major in 22. T75 last week. He's a guy who has made his money on iron game and ball striking. And if you look at his mid to long to short irons where he's been an assassin, kind of with that fall off cut, he's missing it both ways. And when you're hitting a lot of longer irons into these greens, like I talked about earlier at Augusta, you really don't want to be missing it two ways. So I'm really going to fade him. Getting down the leaderboard, I'm just going to talk about a couple more guys. Max Homa, like I said, 60 to 1. Shane Lowry, 60 to 1. Jason Day, 60 to 1. Corey Connors, 60 to 1. If you're going to bet at Corey Connors, I want to say he's got, someone had mentioned it. Yeah, he's got top 10s in three of his last 5 Masters. Love Corey Connors this week. The dude is an absolute ball striking machine. Just cannot putt. And then later, really we're getting into the super long shots here. Adam Scott, 80 to 1. Harman, 65 to 1. He's played well here in the past. Minwoo Lee, 1,100 or 110 to 1. Sergio, 110 to 1. I'd sprinkle those guys. Tiger, 140 to 1. Not interested. Justin Rose, 150 to 1 is enticing. Ricky Fowler, 170 to 1. Fade Ricky. He won the par 3 contest. No one's ever won the par 3 contest and won the Masters in the same year. So that's kind of the outrights. So I would say the guys I'm for sure playing. I've got a bet already on Scotty at 6 to 1. I bet him in February before his odds got worse. I'm gonna play Brooks. Like I said, I have Brooks at 20 to 1 and 19 to 1 in 2 separate bets. I love Neiman at 30 to 1. Gonna fade, like I said, guys. I'm trying to fade Bryson, Wyndham Clark, JT, Morikawa. I'm going to play Neiman at 30 to 1. I already have him in a top 10 and a top 5 bet. And I may find one more. I may look at DJ at 40 to 1. But what I want to focus on and what I've really enjoyed betting is going to be some matchups. So I'm going to break these down and then we'll call it for the day. I want to thank everyone for jumping in and joining our first show today. I've very much enjoyed this. If you can't tell, I love kind of talking golf, so this has been really fun. But what I mean by matchups, and let me share my screen. So on matchups, you can bet 18-hole matchups. You can do tournament matchups. The 18-hole matchups are going to be for round 1. I'm going to focus more on tournament matchups. That's where I've been putting a decent amount of money. I've been doing okay the last few weeks. I've been trying it out. For me, I'm not someone, like, I like to bet sports at decent odds, like plus 110, plus 120. I love hitting long shots in golf, but if I can bet golf and only lay like plus 110 or minus 110, that's kind of my forte of betting. That's what I like to do in football, same with college basketball. So let's look at the matchups. These are 72-hole matchups. If your guy misses the cut and beats the other guy who also misses the cut, you do get paid out on it, at least on FanDuel. I don't know about DraftKings. The first one, Aberg at DeChambeau. I would take Bryson here. I think Ludwig is really, really good, but if you're getting Bryson at plus odds, even though I said he doesn't play well here, I don't think Aberg is going to be a super hot player this week either. It's his first time playing Augusta. It's a course you just learn from experience. So I would actually lean Bryson there if you're going to take a bet. Not going to spend time talking about Ben An and Adam Hadwin, Cantley and Fitzpatrick. If you actually look at these odds, so another thing I like to do is look at their outright odds. So both of these guys are 40 to 1, yet the book is laying minus 140 for minus 140 for Fitzpatrick to beat Cantley at Augusta. So I think the book is telling you that they don't expect Cantley to play well this week, which is interesting. If you want to, you utilize odds across other things, but I would actually lean Cantley here. Minus 140, I think, is just too much juice for guys who are the same odds as in an outright selection. I'm not going to cover Taylor Moore and Eric Cole, Corey Connors, Max Homa. I would lean Corey Connors here. Minus 130 feels a little heavy for that. But I think, like I said, Corey Connors has played well here. He's played well recently. Harris English, Tom Kim, Wyndham Clark, Tony Finau, Henley Hatton. Not going to bet those. DJ Sahith. I love DJ in that matchup, actually. DJ minus 110, I think you're getting some decent value. Right here, I think is going to be a rather large bet for me. I just spent time talking about how we're getting Brooks at, I feel like before he goes in a major run. You're getting him minus 110 to beat Hovland, who I think hasn't finished in the top 50 on the PGA Tour in the last 3 or 4 starts. And if he has, he hasn't been competitive. So I love Brooks in that matchup, minus 110. I think you're getting great value in that number. And you're getting guys, like I said, Brooks is 18-1, Hovland's 35-1, and you're getting him minus 110 in a 72-hole matchup. That's interesting. Fleetwood Lowry, I would actually bet Lowry here. I think Lowry plus 100. He's generally played well at Augusta. Fleetwood, I just fade him in every major. The guy can't win. This is one that I'm going to be playing. Another one. Wako and Matsuyama. I'm going to be taking Neiman here, plus 105. I love Wako this week. I think he's going to have a good week. And Hideki could withdraw. Honestly, he's battling 4 or 5 different injuries right now. Wrist, knee, ankle. Phil, Bubba, not interested. JT Morikawa, not interested. Jaeger, no thank you. Patrick Reed, Siwoo Kim. This is interesting. You got John Rahm and X-Man. Minus 120 for Rahm. I think I actually like Rahm there. Rahm minus 120. Like I said, I like X-Man, but Rahm is just a gamer, man. He's just a top 10 machine, so X-Man has to have a good week. Scheffler, McIlroy. This would be a good one. If Scotty does withdraw, you could bet McIlroy at almost 1.5 to 1 on your money if you are interested there. Rory, I think both those guys finish in the top 10. So you can take a flyer on Rory at plus 145. I love this one. Zalatoris at plus 130. He, like I said, we've just spent time discussing. The guy plays up in majors. He's had a really good history at Augusta. And I just don't think Spieth has it right now. You're getting it almost 1.5 to 1 on your money. Spieth at minus 155. I don't know. I'll take Willie Z there. But yeah, those are the guys. Those are the matches I'm interested in. I'm having issues with my account right now, but the plays I'm gonna be making are gonna be. I'm gonna take DJ minus 110 against Theegala. I'm gonna take Brooks minus 110 against Hovland. I'm gonna take Neiman plus 105. And then I think I was going to take one more. Oh, yeah, Willie Z. So these would be the 4 matchups that I'm going to play this week. I love all these guys, so fade me if you want, or tail. I'll put my bets in once I can actually get into my account. There was one other matchup I wanted to talk about on FanDuel. Both these apps do great job on matching up. They're not going to let me do it. The one instance I wanted to bet FanDuel, you could actually bet. You could bet DJ minus 110 against Morikawa. I would hammer DJ. I'm probably going to put a decent wager on that. 2-3 units on DJ. Minus 110 against Morikawa. I cannot get over how how much I'm stressing that I'm fading Morikawa this week. The dude has no form. And then there was another matchup on FanDuel. Phil Mickelson and Jake Knapp. Jake Knapp is another guy who first time at Augusta, won his first PGA Tour event in Mexico, played well at the Honda. But I bet against him at the API, and he finished dead last. Phil, I think, is plus 115, plus 120 in that matchup. That is interesting. Phil obviously has played Augusta 30 times. You're getting a guy who's won there 3 times at plus odds for a guy who's met or who has never played there in a competitive aspect. So I'll take Phil there. Other than that, that was all I had today. I really want to thank everyone for jumping in and joining our first stream here. This has been awesome. I'll get Steven on at a later date. Sorry, Steven. I just kind of went with it. But this has been awesome. If you're looking to watch the Masters, happy Masters tomorrow. I may go live over the next couple of days to do like a watch party. I got to see what my schedule looks like this weekend. If you want to do that, just make sure you're following us on Instagram at the Scratch Golf Show on Instagram. And then on Twitter, it's at Scratch Golf Show. So if you want to follow us on the socials, you can do that. But other than that, I will probably post my official plays tonight once I can get into my account from my phone. But that's gonna be it for the night. So thank you everyone for jumping in. I really appreciate it. And join us next time. So we're gonna go live next Monday to go over the Masters for sure. But worst case, like I said, we might do some live stuff this weekend. So thank you to everyone for jumping in. I appreciate it.